in our society. And so I just make that point of order about this particular legislation. I made in my opening remarks a request that he would draw the bill. But,
Mr. You just have a second. I just wanted to make a comment. I think the chairman was clear that this bill was filed well in advance. So to connect, you mentioned timing. It's important to mention timing, that it wasn't.
Well, we don't want to debate the bill. We're here to hear from witnesses that are here. So I'm going to go ahead and end this now, and we're going to move on. And I think, actually, Mr. Ivey is up for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I want to associate myself with the remarks of our members here with respect to the loss of Ms. Jackson Lee. It's with deep sadness that I feel her loss. I share not only this committee with her, but on the Judiciary Committee as well. And she was insightful and inspirational in the way she handled herself and her role here in Congress. I also want to join with the comments about sympathies to the comparator family and the individuals who were injured on the day of the shooting. And I want to thank the chair for taking us up to Butler yesterday. My only regret about it was that it was too quick. And I think that, and I didn't know it was going to be like that, frankly, until after we got there and had a chance to talk to people in the community. But when we got there, they were very anxious to talk to us. In particular, I had conversations with Angela Flieger, supervisor for, and I hope I don't butcher this too bad, Connequenessing Township, who was extremely helpful, and Sam Zerzolo, who was a commissioner from Butler Township. And they were able to provide information on several fronts that I think we need to pay attention to, not just for this particular event, but going forward. Could you hit a video for me there? I think Ms. Flieger tried to produce this and sent it to me. The red building is the one that was directly behind the stage. The building in the center there was where the shooter was. The reason I'm asking for this to be shown is that as you get past the middle of it and look to the opposite side of the field from where the shots came, oh, you can stop it now. I counted about 12 rooftops there, just sort of standing at the front. I'm a former federal prosecutor. I don't have a background in protection, but my thought was, why would we pick a spot where you had that many rooftops that were available? And my colleague, Mr. Crane, I definitely defer to your experience as a sniper in the military, and your point about picking the water tower as a higher point would have been a good one, I think, to consider. And I'm curious about finding out what the Secret Service would say about that. But I just thought that this was a bad site to pick no matter where you put them. There was just too many openings. The field was totally open. And one of the things that Ms. Flieger pointed out was that the road that went to the side of this spot here, the stage was right in front of those two buildings. The snipers were on top of those, I believe. They didn't shut down that road. And she also showed me a photo of her husband going in on that day through a fence that wasn't guarded in the perimeter area. Another point that she made was that the night before the speech was done, she and 50 or 60 other people from the community came to decorate the stage and put up the red, white, and blue blending and the Trump signs and everything. But the point she had there was that none of those people were vetted before they went into the area and were up at the stage and, could have done anything, I think was the point that she made. And also noted that apparently the shooter had hidden the gun somewhere on the site by, I think, where I hate to call the name of the business, but the business where the shooter ended up taking the shots from. So I think there's a variety of concerns here that I look forward to getting a chance to hear from these individuals. I don't know if it's going to be in the context of this committee or the oversight committee or the task force that's been proposed. Whoever does it needs to go talk to these folks, because the ones that I talked with had not been interviewed by the FBI, Secret Service, or local police. And they have key information that I think we should have, especially in making decisions about going forward. And then just a couple quick points before my time runs out. I think it came up with respect to the communications piece. I appreciate Mr. Yoy's comments there, but we need to figure out not just what happened on that day, but when we do these at other sites across the country going forward, what's going to happen with the communications? And if they're not using the national bandwidth that was set up, how can we make sure that that happens in the future? And then with respect to the local police not reinventing the wheel every time, one of them suggested, maybe some kind of clearinghouse or information where local police departments, local elected officials, who, for example, in this instance, didn't find out the president was coming until a few days before, and therefore had to scramble to catch up. I believe she called your office, Congressman Kelly, to figure out what was going on, and you hadn't even been told about it yet. So we need to get to a point where we've got better communication, that we're giving elected officials and law enforcement at the local and state level more lead time and more information so they can prepare for these events. And I know that the director has resigned, but I think it's critical to make sure that we go forward with the investigation of the Secret Service, whether she's there or not. And then the last point, I apologize for running over, is that to the Secret Service and to Homeland Security, I know there's going to be a process now to replace her, but that cannot get in the way of us sorting out what happened on that day, and more importantly, what we need to take forward, because we've got other events coming up in the very near future. We got to make sure we take those lessons quickly, and so we can move them forward. And I thank the chair for his deference for giving me a little time to run over there, and I thank you again for taking us up to Butler.
You were making an excellent point, and I didn't want to stop you, Mr. Ivey. I